Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Unfortunately, I do not have the book to show. I returned the book to the library and then realized I had not filmed a review on it, so here we are without the book. But I did read it and I read it for book club, so I'm here to review it. And I've already discussed this with book club, so I've had lots of time to think about this during my discussion with the club. American Gods, I had heard of this book before. It's a popular book, at least I believe it is. I had heard of it. I'd also heard good things about Neil Gaiman. Another one of his books was recommended to me, Good Omens, but my friend group had said that I probably wouldn't like American Gods, so they wouldn't recommend reading it to me. This was another one of my friend groups that I hang out with, not necessarily my book club. No one in my book club had read it. So it came up, we're reading it for book club, and yeah, I have to read it. So let's just dive in for those of us who aren't familiar with the book. The book follows a main character whose name is Shadow. Shadow is in prison for a burglary gone wrong, and he is very, very focused on getting out of prison. He has only a couple more days left. He's focused on what he calls doing his own time and getting out. He's kind of learned some coin tricks while he's in there, but he's just been head down, do my own time, get out, go back, see the wife, restart my life. This is kind of a weird interlude, but it's going to be in the past. He's excited, he's interested in getting out, he's a couple days away, and then he gets called to the warden's office with the news that he's going to be released several days early because his wife has been killed in a car crash. And I have to say, this isn't really a spoiler, this all happens within the first couple pages of the book, but all of a sudden this life that Shadow has dreamed of getting out of prison and doing his own thing and restarting his life, has fallen apart. So he has to go. He's released from prison, but now all of a sudden all this buildup that the last 3 years have been leading towards can no longer happen. So he has to go attend the funeral, but he has nothing else to do. He also, I should add, was planning on getting a job at a gym with one of his best friends at his hometown, kind of like a job to start out with, because with a conviction on his record, it might be more difficult to get a job. That's kind of implied, so he's going to go work at this gym with his friend. Come to find out in the course of events, his wife was actually having an affair with his friend who owned the gym. Something I figured out very soon on. I don't know what gave it away. Something with the vibes were just different. I don't know. I was like, she's probably sleeping with Robert. I don't know. I can't put a finger on exactly what gave me that feeling, but that was my feeling, and it was right. She was sleeping with Robert, and they were both killed in the car crash together while actively engaged in their affair. So now Shadow feels like everything has been ripped away from him. He doesn't really know what to do, but he has had a couple weird interactions, or a weird interaction with a man who calls himself Mr. Wednesday. Mr. Wednesday presented himself to him when he got out of prison as someone who might be a potential employer for Shadow. Shadow might want to come work for him. Shadow's creeped out and is also like, I have my own business, not my own business, I have my own job that I'm going to go work, and I'm not really interested in working for you. Well, now his marriage is gone, his wife is gone, his friend is gone. They're not only gone, but they are dead. He has no money, no way of earning money. He doesn't have any prospects, so he's going to go work for Mr. Wednesday. And indeed they do. In the course of this entire book, it becomes revealed that Mr. Wednesday is a god. And the whole premise of the book is that when people come to the landmass that is America, they bring their gods with them. And the gods are not just people in their head, they are real physical things that need someone to worship in them and believe in them. And there is a war brewing between these old gods, so gods that were brought over, and this ranges from everything from the Vikings to recent immigrants to the gods that were brought over literally when the first people crossed the the Bering Sea, the landmass, the land bridge that used to link Russia to Alaska. All these gods have been brought over, and they kind of still exist in this weird universe, and they all are competing. There's a new element, not necessarily with each other, they're kind of doing their own thing, but there's a new element in which they are competing with, and that is the new gods. Those are things like technology. There's railroad barons at one point, or not barons, but the railroad gods. I'm drawing a blank. So there's like new gods that have come up, which are things that people worship, and then there's the old gods, like the Viking gods and other gods from different cultures in Europe, or gods that came over on the Russian land bridge, or gods that came over in other future immigrations to America, and here they all are. And Shadow gets mixed up working with Mr. Wednesday, who turns out to be Odin. Just put that out there. So I guess I'm going to stop there because I don't want to reveal too much about the plot, even though, to be honest, I didn't really follow the plot, and we can just start talking about my feelings on this book. The first thing I want to say is I went into this knowing people had warned me that it probably wasn't my speed of book, and they were correct. It wasn't really my speed of book. It was a little grittier than I usually like, and I also had trouble following the plot at many times. I feel like they were just going places to go places. There were funny moments. I really enjoyed the two Egyptian gods he stayed with out in, I believe it was California. I thought that whole scene was super funny, or that whole stretch of time when he was there was funny. So there are funny moments and funny times, but I didn't know what they were all building towards, and it felt like there were a lot of little side paths and detours, and every time I thought we were going down a main path, we turned and went down another path. Additionally, I felt like the characters were not, I didn't understand how these gods were relating to one another. I didn't really understand why they were fighting necessarily, other than like for dominance. The new gods were very small in number. It just felt odd. I didn't know what was going on. There is, like I said, it's a little grittier than I want. It's not necessarily gorier, but it's a little grittier than what I naturally gravitate towards. That being said, I can tell that Neil Gaiman is a really good author. That is something that came through very clearly when I read this book, is that Neil Gaiman has some talent with writing. So I did enjoy that, and you can definitely tell that. Something about the book wasn't for me. A couple other things is, at one point he's spending some time in a small town, and I believe it is Minnesota, and it's supposed to be a super safe town, and there's a man named Hinkleman. Hinkleman gave me the creeps right away. Something was just not right with him, and I knew there were also girls disappearing, and I put two and two together like immediately. I was like, oh, something weird is going on here, but I felt like no one in the town was really putting two and two together except for me. But yeah, it's hard to talk about this book because I feel like I didn't really understand what the whole plot was. I'm not really sure. The beginning was clear, like how like Shadow's getting out of prison and all these things have changed in his life, and now he has to start over. So the beginning makes sense, but I have no idea why it ended where it ended. I have no idea why Shadow even needed to be involved with Wednesday necessarily. I don't really understand why he was selected necessarily. I don't understand where the plot went, how it went, where it went, why we needed to go to the places we went to. It was entertaining, but at the same time, I think overall I can sum it up like this. When I'm reading fiction, I definitely understand there's a place for serious topics or serious discussion in fiction, but I wanted more of an escapism science fiction book, and I got something that I think was supposed to be philosophical, but the philosophical point went over my head. And as a result, I was struggling through 500 plus pages that I just didn't know where it was going, and when I reached the end, it was like when someone ends a sentence mid-thought, like, oh, I was going to the store, and then that whole feeling of anticipation of what next is exactly how I feel about this entire book. So I would give this a 2-star. But that being said, I think Neil Gaiman actually has a lot of talent. I think the book was actually overall well done. There were funny moments, and I think maybe if I reread it, I'll understand more of the philosophical points that were being made, but for the right person, this could be a really good book. That's what I want to say. I feel like no one should be turned off by my review, because I think for the right audience, this would be a very well done book, and I'm not turned off by Neil Gaiman entirely. I feel like if he wrote a book that was humorous, I would very, very enjoy it. This book was just supposed to be a little more philosophical and dark, and I just didn't really like that combination, or him as an author writing that. For whatever reason, it didn't work for me. Nothing about it worked for me. But yeah, I think it could work for the right person, so I don't want to dissuade anybody. Anyways, I'm sure everyone has read American Gods. I'm sure I'm the last one there. I'm sure I'm late to the party. So if you've read it, please let me know what you thought about the book, or if you thought I was entirely wrong. Let me know if you figured out that Hinkleman was like being super weird. I did not figure out what exactly he was doing with the girls. That part was kind of like mysterious, and when that was revealed, I was like, oh, this is kind of creepy. However, I had figured out that he was the connection between them, either him or the police, and I really thought that Hinkleman was the guy. Please let me know if you figured that out, because no one in my book club like suggested that at all, but I was like all over that. Let me know too if you immediately figured out the whole like wife and Robert thing, because like the moment both these two people were mentioned, even though they're mentioned in separate contexts, I was like, I know what's gonna happen. I know this. It's like reading a book and yeah, you've already read the book before. So let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on it. Other than that, everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.